Sri Lanka continues to face its biggest economic crisis in decades, but the government seems to be doing little to mitigate the crisis. Today is the last day that the parliament will convene before going on a 9-day break. In the latest, Sri Lanka's main opposition party has threatened to move a no-confidence motion in parliament against the government if it doesn't solve the crisis soon. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa constituted an expert panel to help navigate the country out of the crisis, consisting of eminent economists. The panel will engage with the International Monetary Fund and other probable lenders to address the $8.6 billion debt the country faces. In a bid to garner some quick revenue, the Sri Lankan Parliament on Thursday passed without voting a retrospective surcharge tax bill that would allow the government to impose a 25% tax on companies and also individuals who earned over 2 billion Sri Lankan rupees in the year 2020-2021. The government estimates that it will be able to collect at least 100 billion rupees through this tax. Sri Lanka currently is without a finance minister after former Justice Minister Ali Sabri resigned this week, a day after being appointed. The outgoing minister warned that the country needs to figure out how to restructure a $1 billion bond payment, which is due in July. The country's foreign exchange reserves dropped 16.1% to 1.93 billion in March. Sri Lanka may also run out of diesel by the end of this month, with a $500 million line of credit extended by India being exhausted fast. Officials say that while fuel shipments started in March and more are due this month, the credit line will be over if Sri Lanka doesn't seek extension. Power and fuel shortages in the country has led to many small business or small-scale businesses to fold. India's envoy to Sri Lanka today said that India was focusing on ramping up efforts to cater to the needs of Sri Lankans. He also said that the first consignment of rice from India will reach Sri Lanka this weekend.
India's model of development cooperation is very demand-driven. It is based on the requirements of the recipient country, and we don't have any administrative overheads. In fact, Eldos also wears another hat. He is also the head of the Development Cooperation Wing of the High Commission. So we don't have any administrative overheads. So this $3.5 billion, what it does, it creates capacities in Sri Lanka. So now as we speak, last year we signed a line of credit for solar energy. And that line of credit is under implementation. So this will create not only capacities in this area, but also enhance the share of renewable energy in Sri Lanka's overall energy mix. So this is the way in which, through more investment through public and private sector, and also by augmenting our developmental cooperation efforts in Sri Lanka, we are creating more capacities in the long term.
Depleting foreign exchange, massive debt, power cuts, food and fuel shortages, the Sri Lankan government has a daunting task on its plate. And the people's frustrations with the Rajapaksa government is only growing, with protests continuing daily. And for more on that, WION correspondent Dasunia Thauda sent us this report from Colombo.
Sri Lanka's economic crisis has now rapidly spiraled into a worsening political crisis, with politicians simply unable to come into a common ground on the strategy and the plan as to how Sri Lanka will be coming out of this economic crisis. Just today, Parliament convened for its final day before moving on to the Sinhala and Tamil New Year break. However, parliamentarians appeared to be engaging in brawls and even heated discussions that led to the Parliament ejecting 2 MPs out of the House in order for the IMF debate to be taking place in Parliament. Now, this has obviously angered and disappointed the public at large, where the whole nation is expecting 225 leaders, along with the President, to come up with a solution, and to come up with a solution really fast to get this country out of its economic crisis. That's not all. Protests have been staged across the island over the past few weeks, and in an attempt to possibly quell the protesters or even pacify the anger of the public, the government did issue a special government holiday on the 11th and 12th of April, which would see Sri Lanka have 9 consecutive days of bank as well as government holidays. The people of this country are growing rapidly frustrated over the current economic crisis. Stay with WION for the very latest. Reporting for WION from Colombo, I'm Dasunia Thauda.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.